Hi, I'm Gary White for Central Kentucky Television, here for the Blooming Bardstown Garden Tour 2015 12th annual event. I'm here with Bill Fell, who is one of the master gardeners here in Bardstown. And the master gardeners have been putting this on for the past 12 years. Is that correct?
That's right. This is our 12th year. It's our primary fundraiser. It's how we pay the bills, but that's only a small part. Most of the income we receive is turned back around into the community. We provide scholarships. We provide books for the Nelson County Public Library. And one of the things we do is try to just beautify the area of Bardstown. We handle around the entry signs into the town and where we're standing right now, which is the children's garden at the library.
Fantastic. Now this, where we are actually, is a children's reading garden. It was constructed in 2007 by the master gardeners. And you can see this is one of the two public gardens that is on the tour this year. There are actually 10 gardens on the tour, correct?
Yeah, we had a total of 10 this year. We had a little. We usually have around 8 to 10, and this year we bumped up to 10 because I think we had some neighbors we're going to see a little while. They got into a little competition, and all three of them decided to be on the tour on the same day.
Great. So that'll be an easy tour then, right along the route.
Park one spot, hit 3 stops. That's
exactly.
Right. Exactly right.
Now, for the past several years, Yvonne McNary from Channel 6 has been going along with Bill. So this year it's going to be me. Yvonne couldn't be here today, so will you work with me on this?
I can do what I can, but we're going to miss Yvonne. We miss you, Yvonne, wherever you are.
Exactly. So, as we said, this is one of the 2 public gardens that's on the tour. And tell us a little about what people can see here at the Nelson County Public Library.
Right. Not all the plants, but most of the plants that have been planted in here are edible. So it's something that if a kid were to pick up a leaf, it's not going to hurt them. There's several different herbs. There's nasturtiums and there's daylilies, all of which are non-toxic. But what it also is just a safe spot for kids to read outside. Normally, the gate's open today, but normally the gate's locked. And to enter the children's garden, you have to go through the library, through the children's section, and then out into this outdoor area. It's got benches in it, and kids can sit down under the pergolas that are shaded and read.
Great. Now, also, you have a lot of trees and shrubs. Will they get any bigger than they are now, or are they kind of the right size?
Well, some of them will continue to grow, but I think we're trying to maintain them at a height that's sort of, well, let's call it kid-sized. Now, the Japanese maple's a really slow grower. It could get about double this size, but we'll probably trim it to about this shape. Now, the redbud and what else do we have over here? The Rose of Sharon, it can get a little taller, and all that really is going to do is provide a little more shade for in here, which isn't going to hurt anything.
Now, if you need some help with your garden, the master gardeners are actually here to help with that too, right?
Well, that's right. We support the extension service. If you have a question or an issue with your garden, the first thing you could do, at least in Nelson County, would be to call to the extension office. It's 502-348-9204. The horticultural extension agent is Robbie Smith, and we try to help him with things around the county. Sometimes he sort of divvies up the work, like the community gardens at Nazareth, or like this garden here. Robbie doesn't do that. He tells us about it, we volunteer, and then we do the work.
Fantastic. So let's go on. We're going to visit some more gardens throughout Bardstown. This is the Blooming Bardstown Garden Tour for 2015. And the first garden that we get to see today is the garden of Dick Beach, which is on Rosewood Drive in Bardstown. It's a beautiful garden. There's a couple of different areas that we're going to get a chance to look at, right?
That's correct. Dick has had a garden here for several years. He's planted many of these things in honor of his late wife, and he loves Asiatic and Oriental lilies. He also has a few daylilies, but his lilies are absolutely in perfect full bloom today, so we got a great show from his beds.
Absolutely. So this is one of the beds here. We have the flag waving up there too. Tell us about some of the flowers that we're seeing here now.
Well, as I mentioned, he's got some Asiatic and Oriental lilies. It's kind of a funny plant in that it loves sunshine on its flower and it likes a little bit of shade on its leaves. And what he's done is he's planted in between some roses and some mums, chrysanthemums. Now the mums haven't come in yet. There's a couple starting to open. A lot of mums don't come in until the fall. And of course, everybody's familiar with all the, seeing the mums around the pumpkin time. Right. But he's got a few that come in and bloom a little bit earlier. And they're a perennial also. If you take care of them and pinch them off, they can come back year after year after year. But the lilies themselves are semi-shaded in between these other things so that the leaves get the shade they want, but then the flowers get the sun they want, and that's why you get such brilliant color on the top of his flowers. So
we're doing this in mid-June now for the garden show. It's hard sometimes to time them so you get the actual color right at the peak season, isn't it?
Well, right, and we had our second hard winter in a row, so our daylilies typically during this week would be in full bloom, and that's one of the reasons why we time the garden tour to this week. Unfortunately, daylilies this year are a week or two behind, so though we'll be visiting a couple gardens today that normally would just be exploding with daylilies, they're going to be a little bit less than what we would want to have as an optimal tour day. But of course, we plan the tour a year in advance and never know what the winter is going to be like. And the winter has affected a couple of gardens too, in that some of the harderscape and the shrubbery that especially got hurt by the negative 20-degree nights we had. Crepe myrtles, boxwoods, some holly trees were basically killed to the ground. Butterfly bushes as well, all basically knocked back to the ground because of the extreme temperatures. But as you can see, there's a ton of things that still survive despite the cold and come back and flourish anyway.
Absolutely. Now this garden here that we're looking at is actually in the middle of the yard, so it's surrounded by grass. Does that help, hurt, or not really impact when you're planting a garden? Do you have to consider that?
Well, you do have to consider it. I mean, you have to come up with some way to border it, and different people do different things. Dick uses mulch to keep his out. You actually can see around his flag he's used a landscape border, which is available at hardware stores. You can use bricks. I know we've seen a couple gardens in the past and talked about how people have used bricks and then like sprayed Roundup within about 4 inches of the brick all the way around so that you keep that creep from occurring, because any grass is going to try to send those rhizomes under the ground and shoot them up somewhere in your flower bed if you don't manage them in some way. So I think Dick just likes his work, and he digs in and actually pulls some of it out by hand, but he also uses the mulch to suppress its growth.
Okay, now we're in the backyard for Dick Beach's house, and we're going to look at some of the shrubs that have been affected by this weather we've had over the past winter.
That's right. So in front of me we have some crepe myrtle and a butterfly bush, and I guess when this airs, a lot of people thought, oh man, I got really hit hard by the winter. Almost all of these plants survived. They just got knocked back to the ground. We lose our crepe myrtles in Kentucky about once every 20 years to the ground. Really, it's almost a Zone 7 plant. We're in Zone 6B, so we're really on the line between the two. And this is about as far north as a crepe myrtle would range. Of course, if you go into the south, you go to like Charleston, South Carolina, they grow them as trees and they're 30 feet tall. Ours never get past the shrub stage. But if you do have one, you can actually cut them back to the ground, whether it be a butterfly bush or a crepe myrtle, and they will come back from the roots, and within about 4 or 5 years really get back to where they were before. Other evergreens that were damaged over the winter, sometimes they're not as able to bounce back after a winter like this, so those you just sort of have to evaluate, cutting back some of the dead growth on it and see if it comes back. May have to replace those. But when it comes to the deciduous shrubs that we lost, again, the crepe myrtles and the butterfly bushes, they will come back if you cut them back to the ground.